Right? If we look at emotion and what creates emotion, you take two people. Let's say we're going to go and ride some roller coasters. And one person loves roller coasters and the other person has a major fear for roller coasters. They're going to have two very different quality experiences. What determines the experience that somebody has, the quality of the experience somebody has in the same situation? It's not the situation that determines the experience of it. The experience of the situation that we have is determined by the meaning that we attach to that situation. So what does it mean to ride roller coasters? Well, one person says it's great fun and I love it and it's so exciting and it's so thrilling. The other person says it's terrifying, it's dangerous and you could die, right? And so the meaning that you attach will determine the emotion you go into. If your meaning is this is fun and exciting, then you're going to go into the emotion most probably of excitement. But if the meaning is danger and possible death, then you're going to probably go into the emotion of fear. So what determines the emotion we go into is the meaning that we make. And what shapes meaning are three things. It's what we focus on. So if I am worried about, if the meaning is this is dangerous, then maybe I'm focusing on, well, what if this thing breaks? What if it comes off the rails? What if I fly out on the roller coaster, right? And there'll be a mental picture associated. It's what are we focusing our mind on? Whatever we focus on is what we process. So there's a lot of information coming through our senses at any given point in time, but we don't process most of that. We only process the information that we are focused on. So if I said to you, let's go to a shopping mall and see how many people you can count wearing green, then I've asked you to focus on green. While you're focusing on counting the people wearing green, you're not noticing any other colors. And therefore, if I said to you how many people were wearing yellow or blue or red, you wouldn't be able to tell me because you were focused on green. So whatever we focus on is the actual information that is coming through our senses that we process. And that's quite significant, because if I'm focused on what if this goes wrong, what if I fall out of this roller coaster, then that's what I'm making meaning with. On the other hand, if I'm focused on how fun this is and how exhilarating it is and there's a smile on my face, then that's what I'm making meaning with. So what happens is we focus on certain things in a particular situation. We use our physical body in a certain way. So what we focus on, we tend to feel physiologically. And so feelings are what are you physically feeling in the body? And how are you using the body? So think about how you use your physical body when you are focused on possibly dying. The muscles will be tight because there'll be adrenaline pumping through your body. There'll be a certain way that you breathe, a certain way that you stand, a certain way that you speak, a certain expression on your face. So your whole way of using your physical body will be different. Now, the person that's focusing on how fun this is, they are going to be using their body differently. There's probably more relaxed, the muscles are more relaxed, and they're more relaxed, and they're breathing differently. Everything's different in the way that they are using their physical body. So we focus on certain things and then we feel that in the body, and we use our physical body in a certain way, and we get into the habit of using our physical body in a certain way. And then what we do is we tell ourselves a story about it. So we use our mind, we get our mind involved, and we tell ourselves a story about it. So the story could be, well, this is dangerous and I don't like roller coasters because you don't know if their maintenance has been done or whatever. The other person's saying, I love roller coasters because it's so free, you feel so free, you're living on the edge. So there's a story that we attach to that. So I've spoken a lot about letting go in previous videos, and I have focused those conversations around the difference between an emotion and a feeling. Now, a physical feeling in the body is what I've just explained. An emotion is when we get the mind involved and we tell ourselves a story about that. The The moment we tell ourselves a story about it, what we've done through that story and that language is we have created meaning. And what did we say? Meaning creates emotion. So if I am driving in the traffic and somebody cuts me off and I get angry, right, I'm focusing on the person cutting me off. There's a certain way that I use my body. Maybe I'll get all tense and everything else, and there's a story associated with this. Why did this person cut me off? Do they not have any respect, etc., etc. Okay, there's a whole story that gets involved. The moment you get your mind involved in the form of a story, then have you noticed how that story just keeps repeating, and sometimes the mind adds other stuff to it and it just keeps you in that theme. You cannot change an emotion by trying to outthink it, because the reason you're in an emotion is because you added the story, is because you got the mind involved. So it's like Einstein said, you can't solve a problem at the same level of thinking that created it. You can't actually solve an emotion with thinking. You have to break the emotional cycle by removing the story. Now, there's a difference between your thoughts and your attention. Think of attention as a torch. Like if you shine your attention on your thoughts, if you shine the attention on the story your mind's telling you, then that is what you're aware of. If you shine your attention on the feelings you're feeling in the body, then your attention goes from the thoughts, from the story, to the feelings in the body. And so by doing that, next time you feel in an emotion, so if I'm in this emotion of anger, right, and I get caught up in the story, then I realize, hold on, let me take my attention away from the story and I place that attention on the physical feelings in the body. Now what happens is the story's gone, which means I'm no longer in the emotion, because emotion is created by stories. Emotion is created when we tell ourselves a story about the feelings. So when you take the story off, there's no more emotion. You've broken the emotional cycle. Now what you do is, as I've said before, is you relax the resistance to what you're feeling. Sometimes there are going to be feelings in the body that are very uncomfortable and are really tough, and we might tend to resist them. I don't want to feel that. Relax the resistance to the feeling. And what that does is it loosens things up a little bit and it allows you that energy, because that is what is, we experience energy moving in the body through our feelings. It allows that energy to then move in the body. And then what you can do is, once you've allowed that to move, once you've loosened that up, now you can change your focus. Can you focus on something different? Instead of the person cutting you off in the traffic, can you now maybe focus on the beautiful trees you're driving past, or the lovely sunrise, or maybe there's somebody in a car in front of you who's jamming to the music in their car. Can you focus on that? Okay, whenever you change your focus, you are processing different information. So the meaning is going to be different. And then if let's say you decide, all right, I want to feel differently. All right, well, if you felt really happy right now, or really excited right now, or really calm, at peace, how would you use your physical body? Breathe that way, sit that way, stand that way. Where's your head? Where would your shoulders be? Use your physical body in a way that is consistent with how you want to feel. And that starts to change the biochemistry in the body. And then the third thing you can now do, once you've broken that initial emotional cycle, is now you can tell a completely different story. You know what? Sitting in the traffic is quite nice because it gives me time alone and to really think. And I don't get that time very often because of the busy life that I live, or something like that. So you can start to change the whole meaning by changing what you focus on, how you use your physical body, and the story you tell yourself about the situation. And that will not only change the meaning, but in turn it will change the emotion that you go into. And if you do that regularly enough and consistently enough, it will start to become a habit. Just remember though, if you're already in an emotion, okay, emotion happens faster than thought. So we're already in an emotion. And if that's not an emotion you want to be in, You got to break the emotional cycle, and the way you break the emotional cycle is take your attention away from the story that your mind's telling you and bring it to the physical feelings in the body and relax the resistance to those feelings. And when that energy feels like it's loosened up a little bit and starting to move, then you can change what you focus on. You can change how you physically use your physical body. You can breathe differently, and you can change the story.